can you assure us that this can be done in a way that is not going to disrupt care for anybody?
We're going to do everything we possibly can to make sure that the veteran experience gets better. Okay. And I think that's the biggest issue that we have. And so, look, what I've found in this town so many times is the people that say you can't or you won't are also the people that are most fearful that you will. And so when you take something like the VA, in which so many in Congress and others have just sort of thrown money or issues at it and said to get better, we're now actually saying, is there a better way? And I think from my perspective, that's helpful.
Okay. A report from the Inspector General found that of 139 VA healthcare centers, only 2 did not have severe staffing shortages. I get what you're saying about you got to work smarter and you got to do all that stuff, but that seems like you're running pretty thin in a lot of these places.
Yeah, well, let's also take that into perspective of saying also they're looking at what a staffing model would be or a projection model would be for X projection. What we're also seeing is also having the same thing most healthcare systems have, and right now we're hiring almost 1,000. This is something that's often missed. Okay. We're hiring over 1,000 or more people every 2-week pay period. So we're hiring at the VA. We've exempted over 300,000 jobs on the front-facing medical and disabilities claim. So when we look at this, we also have a lot of stuff that we're looking at, like 16,000 contract people who are actually just going through. Is that someplace that we need? It's not front-facing. It's something that we can maybe move money. We're also on a GAO list. If you want to take the Inspector General, the GAO has also said for the last 10 years that the VHA, our healthcare system, has been on the high-risk list. In other words, for susceptible to fraud, waste, and abuse, and also patient care. So after 10 years of this, if we're looking at the same thing the same way, and by the way, with that same report, we've added 50 to 70,000 employees, we've added the money, and it's not changing. So the question just comes is reports tell us what we know. The VA is broken, but we're not going to be the whipping post anymore. Yeah. We're not going to be the people that say, VA, you're bad, you're not doing this, your wait times are terrible. But then when we start to do something, oh, you can't touch VA. Well, we're not going to be that person anymore. We're not going to be that department. You're not going to scare my veterans, and you're not going to scare my employees. We're going to do this in a way that helps them. Okay.
In the first Trump administration, there was a big effort to modernize records.
Yes.
And this was a big efficiency thing, and it was going to cost $16 billion, and it was going to take 10 years. We're already at about $20 billion, and the time horizon has extended. Republicans and Democrats have both pilloried the bipartisan. There's been ire for the first Trump administration, for the Biden administration, and there are complaints that records got lost and things got broken. That's a problem you inherited. What are you doing about that?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked, because that's one of the things that I talked about in my confirmation. And here's an interesting issue. Anywhere else you go in the healthcare system is modernized its health record system, except us. And it was too much problems going on. So the first thing we did was I sat down my VA side. I put my folks who are working on it in a room. I said, tell me your problem. Tell me what you don't like. About 3 days later, I had Oracle, who is the processor who's doing all this, and said, okay, you tell me what's wrong. So we got them together. Then a week later, I put them both in the same room, and they wouldn't talk. And I said, so here's what I want you to do. I want you to, I said, they're saying this about you, you're saying this about them. And all of a sudden, we had communication. A week later, after putting them in a room for 2.5 days, we've now, not only good news here, we've now agreed on standardization. We've now agreed on the problems that we're going forward. And now we've also added almost double the sites that are going to be up by next year, and we're moving it into this year. So where the last administration paused it for 2 years and said we're going to go in 26, we're actually moving the ball forward in 25 and in 26, and also cut years off the back end so that when we get this going, that by the end of this, in the few years, we're actually having, by the end of 28 right now, we're looking at having the vast majority, over half of our hospitals online. Now, we got a lot of work to do, and Congress is going to have to work with us because, again, when you talk about a problem but don't try and fix a problem, but in 3 weeks, we've moved from chaos and what I believe to actually a plan that is moving forward that I'm happy about.
How do you think about Elon Musk and DOGE? Do you think about this as a consultancy, basically, that's providing suggestions for how you should proceed in an agency that you've been confirmed to lead? Or is this a directive? When you hear recommendations from DOGE, how do you receive them?
I receive it as I'm the Secretary of VA. Yeah. And at the end of the day, I'm going to make decisions best for my employees and best for the veterans. And they're giving us some good advice, looking with fresh eyes. It's just like in the media field. I mean, you're having media now have to relook. You're doing your station, your network is doing a great job relooking at how you do this. So are others. Well, why is that not true for a government agency? So many times we believe government is just separate. And I've said this before, the VA is special because of who we get to take care of, but we're not unique. So we need to make sure we're doing the best we can for those veterans out there.
All right, Mr. Secretary, we really thank you for
such a pleasure to be here with you.
We appreciate you being here. Thanks for watching.
Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.